Other interesting business news, you have a gentleman by the name of Bryan Cranston. He's sad because I didn't know if you knew this, because I certainly barely knew, but you actually have the Hollywood actors, the actresses, and the writers all on strike. And it's kind of hilarious. It's kind of like a federal government shutdown. Kind of shows you how little you need them in your life, because I can't help but think, I have not noticed a single difference in my life since Hollywood's gone on strike. Partially because I really don't consume any of the garbage that they produce. I think they might make one good movie a year, perhaps. I might be generous in that assessment, but I'm feeling a little positive today. But have you noticed the strike going on? I certainly haven't. But it looks like the actors, they're sad because they're not making enough money. And it's even more hilarious, Bryan Cranston, he's the guy he's from Malcolm in the Middle, and the show that actually, the premise of the show almost seemed to be glorifying the manufacture of illicit substances, Breaking Bad. An interesting concept that turned out to be viral. Everyone turned into that show. Subsequently, I think I've seen one or two highlights on the YouTube. But nevertheless, this is Bryan Cranston on the demands of the striking actors, actresses, and the writers. And writresses, perhaps. That might be a new word, doing a little Shakespeare up in here, making new words up.
To pony up.
It might be tough for people to understand. Breaking Bad is airing on Netflix, and actors aren't getting paid for it.
Literally, figuratively, you are getting paid, but the scale is so far below what we're used to. There used to be several different revenue streams for a working actor to coddle together to actually make a living, and you needed all of them to be able to do that. Well, those have been whisked away. Now, the streaming market, we know what it is, and we know that all the legacy studios have switched their entire business model to be a leader in the streaming wars.
Damn it. I forgot the world's smallest violin. I meant to buy one on the eBay or somewhere, but I forgot to pick up the world's smallest violin. I apologize. I'm trying to increase the production value of this show. Ooh, dang it. Now, this also shows the ignorance, and I'm only halfway through this clip. I know he's insufferable to say the least, but this also shows the ignorance of not just, I'm seeing more and more ignorance, not just from the UAW perspective in terms of people who are supporting United Auto Workers with the strike. In this same instance, they're not taking into account the whole picture, or the big picture, some might say. Now, in the case of streaming, they're losing money. Look at Disney. Disney Plus has not made a profit yet. They're still bleeding money. All these companies are competing fiercely, and only more recently have some of them started to make a profit. And it's also an interesting thing where he just said, we're still getting paid. We have all these new outlets. It's going to be hard for Mr. Bryan Cranston. And it gets more hilarious, ironic, and ignorant.
New York Times did an expose on the rents in Los Angeles from 2000 to 2023. They showed that rents in Los Angeles went up 35% on average. At the same time,
And who controls the politics of Los Angeles? Oh yes, the people of the Hollywood unanimously and without a hesitation support. One of the biggest issues in San Francisco is supply and demand. For years, they will not allow new permits to make new apartments, new buildings. So you have unprecedented demand. Well, it used to be demand for homes and apartments, but the supply was not changing. Even San Diego, which is much more, politically speaking, more middle, oddly enough, but actually, no, not oddly enough, it's no coincidence. They allow a lot more construction, thereby keeping up the really pretty good amount of supply, so the prices of things don't exponentially increase. So again, you did this to yourself, Bryan Cranston, but let's let him keep attempting to talk.
An increase in pay went up only 6%. So it doesn't take a mathematician to realize that inflation has had a tremendous effect on the working actor.
And who did you vote for, Bryan Cranston? Who did the Hollywood unions unanimously give political donations to? Who was the one that passed the Inflation Reduction Act that, like most political bills, actually had the antithesis of the result of the name? Which is why every time you hear a bill that sounds good, be very skeptical because it's usually BS beyond all belief. They're just trying to use emotional rhetoric and happy sunshine and smiles to fool ignorant people, which unfortunately works all throughout America. I partially blame the union-controlled schools, but I partially digress.
On Netflix, you don't even know how many people are watching because Netflix does not share the data. That is one of the big sticking points for the writers and the actors. Let you know, because the ratings used to be the way that the networks would let people know. It was all public, and that information is now being guarded.
That's true.
In an unbelievable way.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, obviously. That is the most proprietary, important data from this company's perspective. They certainly don't want the competition getting leaked that data as well. Now, interestingly enough, I was not alone in my assessment of this particular instance, with many in the comments roasting him, eviscerating him, or as the youth might say, ratioing him immediately. Now, one of the best comments is from Steven Zoltan saying, quote, "If a client pays me to build a house and 3 years later they sell that house, I'm not in line for payment again. I was paid for my skills. After that, it's out of my control." Seems like a pretty good comparison. Now, that person got 215 likes. You also have somebody named Rodney Hickman saying, quote, "Welcome to being a working person," unquote. That person got 27 likes and 2 laughs. So quite a few people found it quite entertaining. And it also just shows you the hilarious disconnect between Hollywood and the rest of America, where, again, they have all... Bryan Cranston is rich beyond anyone's fathoms, and he's still complaining it's not enough, which is a theme you usually see with unions, I would say. But Hollywood, they're going to use AI. I can't help but think they're not going to acquiesce to that demand. That's one of the biggest sticking points for this whole strike, which, again, 18 people have noticed. Well, I guess we're talking about 19 people, maybe. I forgot, they have, some of them have relatives that work in Hollywood, so they probably tell each other's relatives. But it's just one of those instances where AI is perfect for Hollywood. Most of the crap they push out is nothing more than a copy-paste of the previous work. Look at the Fast and Furious films. Universal Studios could save a lot of money, fire those actors and actresses and writers right now, have the computer do it. A Fast and Furious movie, at this point, is nothing more than fast cars, rudimentary plot about there's a cliche bad guy who's just bad because he's bad. You have some bad gadgets now, a preposterous plot like going to space. Then you have to pay Vin Diesel to say, family. Which I know probably sounds the same as Sylvester Stallone, but the attempt was made by me nevertheless. Take those 5 things, I just wrote the next 3 Fast and Furious films. Not to say I'm talentless, but that act right there didn't involve much skill. A lot of these films in Hollywood are just a copy-paste, which is why they're scared to death that AI will appropriately, most likely, take over a lot of the traditional roles in Hollywood. Let me know, how many real, original, great ideas come from Hollywood? Another great example is Disney, which, again, Disney's losing money on streaming. They've been pretty transparent. They've let us know they're still not breaking even. Their goal is to maybe break even by 2024. It's not going to happen. They're going to be advertising it for $1.99. And half the comments when you do read it, anecdotally speaking, on Facebook, they're all roasting the company, saying they don't want it, usually due to politics. Now, with Disney, they're the prime example of a company that will benefit from AI and just automation in general as well. Most of the stuff they're doing right now is just a remake. Same with Marvel, which they own. Marvel, you have a hero, a cliche bad guy, big explosions, and no one really dies. Repeat. So, I don't know the actual figures that they are making right now or percentages, but I would venture to say they should be perhaps pretty grateful for what they have now, because the justification for their existence tomorrow, I don't know how much it's really there. Let me know in the comments, of all the industries we talk about on the show, automotive, aerospace, restaurants, retail, it seems like Hollywood is one of the prime examples where they will benefit from AI. The only interesting question will be, how much will they have to give up to embrace it? Because right now the union's saying, or the actors, actresses, and writers, they're saying that's a contingent. This is a non-negotiable. You cannot use AI for the scripts or for us. That's a big sticking point. Let me know. Do you think they'll acquiesce? Will the studios say, "Oh yeah, we'd much rather pay Vin Diesel millions of dollars to say 2 lines"? Really? So I would say, in terms of the outlook of who's going to win, if you want to look at it as a win scenario, it seems like Hollywood has a lot of leverage. These legacy actors and actresses and writers. Again, there are some creative writers. There are some really great pieces of work, and some would say pieces of art. But a lot of this stuff, it's gotten to the point where I think AI is primed to take over. But let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to see what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of September, so if you click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, get that free flamethrower with every September purchase. Go to toppytechnologies.com to learn a little bit more. Also, don't forget to take the time to like and comment. The feedback is greatly appreciated as we make the show better and better together. And lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.